Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back, everyone. I'm audible. Perfect. Okay, I've shared the registration link for the part 4. So please do register for it. Let me share it again. There we go. Please, 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 please do register for the event. That is very important. Helps me, helps you, helps MLH. Mhm. Give me 1 second. Okay. Okay, cool. So, I had to answer one quick question, which was, is this the last session? Uh, Technically it is, but it is still not. I have requested for 2 more sessions. Reason being, I wanted to build this same project in React as well. And currently we have been just doing normal HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I wanted to use an opportunity to also build this whole project in React. So I've requested for 2 more sessions, which if I get it, I will there will be an announcement, of course, on the day. Should be Wednesday, because that's the day I'll be free for 2 more sessions. But it would be Wednesday late night. So depending on the time zone you are in. So for me here in the UK, it would be 8 p.m. to 10 p.m., 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. In India, it would be 11:30 p.m. to 1:30 a.m. and then 1:30 a.m. to 3:30 a.m. And in ET, it would be 7 to no 8 to 10 p.m. ET and 10 to 12 a.m. No, no. That's wrong. 2 p.m. Yeah, 2 to 4 and 4 to 6 p.m. ET on Wednesday. But you don't have to stay up too late and watch it, because every video is normally on YouTube. Okay, so it will be available on YouTube. You can find like session 1, 2, and 3 on YouTube already. Just search for Major League Hacking, go to the channel, go over to the live, and you should find like part 3 here, part 2, part 1, part 2, part 3, and part 4 is currently live and streaming. You should be able to find part 4 at the end. Like, you'll find part 4, and you can find part 5 and 6 when I stream them on Wednesday. So yeah, I would suggest that you don't stay up too late to join it, please. Join it after, watch it after, watch it later on YouTube. And I might not be, but I also don't know React. Should I join? If it is in a time zone where you can join it, so if you are in a time zone where it is not too late for you, then yes, do join it. because I will try and ensure that we follow up over on whatever we have done so far. Yeah, what we have, like what we did in JavaScript, the same thing would be carried over to this one, to what's the word? React. Yes, the same things would be carried over to React. So it should not be very different or difficult. Uh, yeah, I'll try to mark some comparisons so that if you understand this, it should be very easy for you to understand the React bit. But you can still watch a few things, like just learn about React in general from someone else, from some other videos. Even some of my past videos, I think I have done a React one. Oh, 1 year ago, I did a open source invoice generator with React, a job board website with React. So I have done quite a few. There are other folks who have done React projects as well. So you can watch these streams to learn about React. Okay, coming back, give me 1 second. I'm trying to just check a few things. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, let me know. As I've already said, we possibly will have 2 more sessions, but that depends on availability. If, let's say, for some reason I don't get 2 more sessions, like, that a lot of other great folks who will be there to stream and I don't get it, keep an eye on the GitHub. Normally I do complete it. Sometimes I'm late depending on what my work schedule is. So sometimes I'm late in finishing off anything, but I do eventually complete it. Okay, so please do keep an eye on the GitHub, and you will find uh, the React code, and I'll try to add as many comments as possible. Okay, cool. Let's come back. So I was looking at my notes and I was like, okay, what can I kind of remove so that I can finish it all in the next 1.5 hours? And I think there are quite a few things that I could technically remove. Yeah, which will help me finish this all in a short span of time. Okay, cool. Okay, so few things that I want to do. So we have done the columns. We need to now focus on the rows themselves. Oops, that's bad. Where is index.html? Go live. Wait, did it select the CSS? Oops. Nope. Wrong one. Yep, there we go. Cool. Yeah, we have done the rows. We need to now focus on the columns. So let's start with the columns. Let me open my notes. Okay, there are a few things that we want to do. For the columns, so we have done the left column, which would be the notes labels. We have done the wrapper. We have done the empty space. We have done all of it. Let me just take these two together. Okay, so at the end of it, now we have add labels to left column and add left column to the layout, right? To the grid layout. We have done that so far. Also, you can focus solely on this right now. Okay. Cool. What's next? Right column. Let's focus on the right column. So now left column has had the notes labels. Right column now will have the ruler plus clickable cells. Okay, so now we are venturing into clicking stuff. That's going to be exciting, right? Sorry, answering a few questions. Okay, coming back. Cool. So we had the left side. Now let's focus on the right side of the grid. So we can do const grid right side. Yep, grid right side, and we can use our function el to create a div element. And we can give it a class name of grid right side. So this is going to be a container for ruler and grid. Okay, let's see how that looks like. Should just be a div, right? That's all. It's not like we did anything. So there's a grid layout, labels left side. Oh, we have not attached it to anything, so no wonder it's not showing up. We will attach it to the grid layout later. So grid layout dot append child grid right side. So grid layout should now have two children. There is a labels left side. So labels are on the left side. So that is what we have. And we'll have a grid right side, which will be the right side of this grid. So if I hover over it, you know which part I'm pointing to. So grid layout now has two children. Okay, the left side, which is done. Now the right side, add grid right column to the layout. Okay, Cool. So that is our grid. Let's create a ruler element. So const ruler equals to el, and we need a div with a class name of ruler. So this is a ruler on top to show beat numbers. Okay, so what are beat numbers? They are nothing but, you remember these 16 columns? So that is what it will show, 1 to 16 basically. That's it. Doesn't need a semicolon here. Okay, so that would be our top one. What else we need? Oh, we need to add those numbers, right? So let's add those numbers. For this ruler, if I should add this ruler to the right side, right? Grid right side should have the ruler appended. So grid right side dot append child ruler. So now right side should have a child which will have the class name of ruler. Okay, now ruler itself. Now let's focus on the ruler itself. Okay, I have columns, 16 of them. Sorry, I need to create 16 columns, but this is not an array. This is a number. So what can I do which will ensure that I can have 16 of them? I can just do a very simple for loop. So I can say for let call id equals to 1. So we start from 1. Call id less than equal to the calls variable, which is all the total number of columns, which is 16, and call id plus plus. So we loop over them. So if we are using a normal for loop, we used for each when we had an array already, but now a normal for loop should do the trick. I can use idx actually, which is column index, right? So column index, which will be a number. So now that we are looping over it, I can do some variables inside it. Const is beat, okay? And I can say call index modulo 4 triple equals to 0. So what this means, actually let me finish. Actually, I think I can do this, right? Console.log, let's print out is beat comma is beat variable. If I go over to console and also is beat comma call index comma is beat. Perfect. So we are that line modulo 4. This means we divide column index, which is a value, by 4, and after dividing it by 4, if the remainder is 0, okay, after dividing by 4, if the remainder is 0, divide each call index by 4 and check if remainder is 0. Okay, this is what we are doing in this line. So we divide each of them by 4 and we check if the remainder is 0. If it is 0, so for the 1 divided by 4, remainder will not be 0. 2 divided by 4, remainder will not be 0. Not 0, it will be 0. So this will be true. So the reason why I'm doing it is because I want to give them a different color. So I'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and then 4, 8, 12 and 16, or actually, yeah, 4, 8, 12, and 16, or 1, 5, 9, and 13, actually. Yeah. Yep. I mean, like, we can decide. But we want to give them a separate color because they will be a beat. Okay. A beat will have basically, let's say, a drum beat. Okay. That's what we are talking about. Cool. Okay. Now const ruler cell equals to el. I want to create a div element, but my CSS, I am going to use that backticks. Okay. And now in the backticks, I'm going to say that ruler dash cell, and then I'm going to check if there is a beat, then give it an additional class name of beat, else don't give it any additional class name. So we are saying that add beat class every 4 columns. And we can say ruler cell dot text content is equal to should be column index, and ruler dot append child ruler cell. Okay, perfect. So ruler is the parent, and we created a div where the numbers go from 1 all the way to 16. Ruler cell will be the class which will be given to every div. But if it is divided by 4 and the remainder is 0, then we give it an extra class name, which is beat. Okay, so you have it on 4, 8, 12, and 16. Okay, so we're giving an extra class name called as beat if it is going to be like if divided by 4 it gives 0. Okay, so before we move ahead, let's also quickly use CSS to style them. I can say this is display grid, and grid template columns repeat 16 times one fr, one fraction, which is equal length, let's say, equal width. Margin is 0 for the time being. Let's see. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, this is nice. And for each ruler dash cell, for each ruler cell, I want to give it a height of 22 pixels. Okay. The best way to check anything is give it a background. So this is what is happening right now. Okay, so all the numbers are currently aligned to top left. Okay, let's also give this a display of flex, and align items to the center. So now they are not top left, they are more center, but also not center to the grid. They are still on the extreme left. So now let's do justify content center. So that should push them to the center of this box. Perfect. For these labels, we had given them a font size of 12 pixels. So I'm going to copy that over and say that the font size is going to be 12 pixels. So the numbers become slightly smaller in their height. And let's give it the same border. And there we go. So 16 of them. Perfect. And I'm going to remove this background color because we don't need them. So now you have your notes, you have your rulers or beat numbers. Okay. So we start from beat 1 and we go all the way up to beat 16. This is similar to all the columns that we have here. I have just ensured that they are numbered so that it makes much more sense in understanding where we are. And you remember this gap that we had left using that height? This is why. So that this is here, and this is a gap, and the boxes will come kind of below here. Cool. Okay, next is for every ruler cell where we have a beat as well. Okay, a class called as beat as well. So I'm not putting a comma, I'm putting a dot. What this means is for every ruler cell where you also have a beat cell, give them a different color. So we know that 4, 8, 12, and 16 had a different beat. They also had a beat class attached, and that's why they are now in different color. Okay, any questions, anyone? Okay, all good, perfect. Okay, so now we have done this. Grid, this, grid right side, ruler. Oh, the gap is basically the spacing between these two, right? Okay, like. Cool. What's next? Grid inner. Let's talk about grid inner. So we have done all the way up here. So we add ruler to the right column. Okay. Next, let's talk about grid inner. Okay. So I'm going to use rel to create again div element, and I'm going to call it grid dash inner. And who am I going to append this to? Right side. Okay, so now I should have uh, for grid right side, I will have another child, grid inner. We have the ruler, we have the grid inner. So the grid inner will be this part of my grid. Cool. Okay. Cool. What else do I want to do? Grid layout, labels left side, ruler spacer, row labels, row label, right side. Okay. I want to grid left side. I want to copy this over to this one. This is from ruler. We start with grid right side. Okay. Ruler cell, ruler cell beat, and okay. Grid right side, top ruler numbers slash beat numbers, and here we have bottom grid inner on the right side. Okay, so grid inner, let's give it a quick CSS. So grid dash inner. So I'm going to copy this because I'm lazy. It will be a display grid, and we will have a grid template columns. We want to repeat it 16 times, each of one fraction or same width, you can say. Grid auto rows, I'm going to set that to each of them 32 pixels and a gap of 4 pixels. Okay, does it do anything to us right now? Nope, because there is no cell. Okay, we also want a cell inside here, so that on each cell we can, we'll have to create each cell. Basically, very simple, very simply to understand, we need to create each cell. So grid inner is created. Now we can do how many do we want? We want 16 columns and 8 rows, that many cells. Okay, so we need 2 for loops right now. So we need a first for loop. For the first for loop, we can have a let each row, and we start from okay, let me think. If we start from 0, okay, and each row is less than equal to the total number of rows that we have, and each row plus plus. Now inside this we need another for loop. Okay, so we need to build two for loops. Why? Because we need x number of rows. So if I need like 8 rows and 16 columns, and we need to okay, we need to draw a box in each of them, which starts from 0. Each call is less than equal to calls, each call plus plus. Okay, let's reduce the size of this CSS because we are focusing on the JavaScript bit right now. Okay. Oh, there's a question. I'll answer that question in a bit. Let me first focus on this. I'm trying to think what would be the ideal way to create a cell. Okay, so each row is created, each column is created, and now we can say const cell equals to element, and this time we are going to create a button element because we need to click on it, and we'll give it a class name of cell. Okay, perfect. And we can append them to the grid inner dot append child cell. Add cell to grid inner. Okay, perfect. So what have I messed up? I started from 0. Less than or equal to, it should be just less than, since I started from 0. Perfect. And there's each cell. Finally. It's like, okay, how does this go on? But that's simple. So we start from the 0th row. Okay. Easier would be to visualize it by going over and printing it out. Let's console log this. So we will say console.log, and we can do each row first and each column. Okay, so now if I go here and check, for each row and each column, it is going to create a cell. So each row and each column, both of them are 0. So 0, 0 is this position, and it creates for the first column, like for the 0th one, it will create a 0 here, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up until 15. Okay, 0 to 15 is 16 numbers. So it creates from 0 up until 15th. Okay, we are talking about positions here, not these numbers. Please understand, we are talking about positions, not the number 1, 2, 3, 4. So at position 0 of the row and position 0 of the column, it creates a cell or a box. And that goes, or more like a button, it creates a button. If I go over in the grid code and I expand the grid right side, grid inner, there is a button with a class of cell. Okay, it creates a button for each of them. Okay, so that's what it does here, and up until 15 it does that. Then it starts for row 1, which is this row, and it gives them the column again, so from 0 up until 15. What I could do is, for each cell I can add a text content, which would be actually each row, comma, each call, and I put them in a string using backticks because I want them to be shown on the screen. There we go. So this is 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2 up until 0, 15. And that goes from 0th, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which is the rows. Okay, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. So these are my row numbers, and the other one is my column numbers. And that is how it has created a grid. So this is what I was basically first trying to think and understand, that, okay, should I start from 0, 0? Because yes, of course, it is a position. It's part of a position. And then we go up until the number of rows. But if I go equal to the number of rows, which is 8 rows, because why 8 rows? Because that is what I have said here. Then it creates one extra row, which is not needed. If we start from the position 0, we only need to go up until position number or index number 7. So that is why this should not be equal. Similarly for columns, if I say if it is equal to the number of columns, then it tries to create column number 16, which is wrong, because after 15 it goes to 16. Okay, so 0, 15, and then it goes 0, 16, and it pushes one ahead. I don't want that. I want it to go from 0th position up until 15th position. Okay, and that's how we have created an array. A grid, sorry, not an array. We have created a grid. Does this make sense so far? Okay, so, and I've also printed the position, temporarily printed the position. To show what is the row number and what is the column number. And we are looping over twice. Why twice? Because, well, for each row, we need to create, we need to go over each column and create a cell. And I'm doing row first because that is the small number. Okay, as in, like, I don't think that would make much of a difference here. Yeah, it won't make much of a difference, but it will just understand it wrong. So it's going to call all of these 0, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then it's going to start again from 0, thinking that, okay, this is the 0. So yeah, it's more confusing that ways. So row first because that is the smaller number, and column later, which is the bigger number. Okay, now let's color them, or let's say we style them nicely. And so there was a question. I still need to understand. Let me highlight the question for everyone to see if they have missed it. Understand what size will look good. Right now, how you assign it just to 4 pixel, 8 pixel, 32 pixels, and it looks good. So I will say, what did I start with? So I started also, I need to add some spacing here right above all this. So I started with the extreme left. Okay, let's talk about this extreme left. I have given it a width and I've given it a height. If I've given it some height, if let's say this height is going to be 22 pixels, then all the cells that I create should have the same height so that it is harmonious. Second thing is the gap between these two. So if I've given a gap of 4 pixel between the above and the below, then all the cells need to also have that gap, right? Same gap. So this gap could be 1 pixel, this gap could be 10 pixel. But once you do that, you also need to ensure that every other cell that you create should have the same gap. Similarly, the width-wise gap. So I have given this a width, okay? This box some width, okay? Let's say I need to ensure that all the boxes that are below that should have the same width. That's when it makes sense. Now this could be one, like you can give it a box of 1 pixel, you can give it 10 pixel, you can give it 100 pixel, but just ensure that everything below it should have the same width. And similarly for the gap. And that's how you create a harmonious layout. Okay, so it doesn't really make much of a difference, other than to create an harmonious layout, we just give it some what do you call, like some width, and then everything else is based off of that width and height. And also you have to like fiddle around a lot. Okay, like it's not like I know these values from top of my head, or I know that this will look good. I tried it out and I was like, okay, I think this looks much better, kind of. Okay, so border and border radius of 4 pixels. So this border radius, because well, I know that for every borders that I've created, there's this border radius. Perfect. So that is the cell color. I can also give it a text color, or actually, no, let's not give it a text color, because text is temporary. Okay, that is just for you to understand. On the cell, if you hover over the cell, what is hover? Hover is taking the mouse over the cell. I want to change the background color to something else. So now if I hover over it, as you can see, the color changes subtly. Let me make it a bit more lighter. And that, you see, on hover, the color changes. Okay, there's a subtle change in the color. Okay, so this goes away. We have created our cell. Okay, now once, actually no, not once. Okay, cool. Now we go into the world of state management. Okay, what is state management? State management is nothing but a way of managing the values. Okay, so like you will hear this word a lot in React when we do React, that oh, state, we need to manage the state, we need to do this, we need to do that. What is the state? State is nothing but a value of certain element. Okay, that's all that state is. Like you can have more difficult words to explain state, but very simply, state is nothing but the value of a variable. And the reason why I'm focusing on that word is because uh, interchangeably it will be used a lot. Okay, we'll use that word interchangeably, like oh, state, value, what is the state of this, what is the value of this. End of day, whenever I use the word state, all I'm saying is what is the value of a variable at a given time. Very simple. Okay, uh, okay, so right after we created this grid right side, and then we created a grid inner, actually after this, right after this, let's create another variable called as grid state. Okay, uh let me comment this out, because I want to show you one thing before we move ahead. So the one thing that I want to show you right now is array dot from. Let me think of an example. Okay, I want to explain array.from. I need to think of an example where I can create an array from something. I can say, uh, okay, perfect. So array.from allows me to create an array, and you can tell it to create of certain length. So I did array.from and length set to 2. That means I'm creating an array of two numbers, but like two values, not two numbers, two values, but both of them currently are undefined because I have not told it what to fill that array with. So to fill it, we need to create a function, a callback function, or more like, you remember our arrow function? So imagine an arrow function, but without any values. And I say that fill that uh, okay. I don't really need this one. Need to check the syntax of array from. Don't really remember. No, map function. Okay, I can just do a map function which returns nothing. Perfect. That is nice. Okay. I have to basically most of the times Google it. Yep, there we go. A map function which does not return anything. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm creating an array of a set length. Like this length could be anything, and I'm saying that fill all the values with zeros. Okay, I can change this to all the values filled with 1. I can change the length to be equal to 4, and now I have 4 things in the array. Now I can technically take it a bit ahead, and I can say that create an array of uh, 16 numbers. Okay, and we have like 16 numbers, which is, let's say, or more like, let's say, let's take the number of rows. Okay, so I want an array of 8 rows and 16 columns, and fill all of them with zeros. So if I do that, I will have an array which looks like, which will have an array inside an array. So there is outer box, there is inner box, and in the outer box will have 8 inner boxes, and the inner box will have 16 elements. Now the reason why I'm doing this is because I want to manage the state of the boxes. Okay, very simply, I want to manage the state of the boxes. I want to when I click on a button here, one of these buttons, I want to mark it as active. Active is nothing but a true. So initially, I want to create a box where everything, like for each row and for each column, everything is going to be false. And then I want to, uh, when I click on it, then I can go over to my this box inside box thing, find the position of what I clicked and change it from false to true. If it is true, then I can give it a different color saying, oh, this is now true. Let's make it blue, okay, or active or something like that. Let's give it an, let's make it uh, purple, okay. Yeah. So if I click on a button or a box, I want to find its position and change it to true. If I do that, then it's a very easy way for me to understand which boxes have been selected and which boxes are unselected. And on the selected boxes, I want to do a beat, or let's say I want to make some noise, make some sound there, do something on the selected boxes only, because that is what is happening right here. I have this box. If I click on it, it's making a sound because now it is active. So when I play, only the boxes which are marked true should make some sort of sound, some sort of noise. Others should not be making any noise. And the easiest way is to create an array of all those true falses. So we are going to do that inside this grid state. Okay. I'm going to do an array dot from, and I'm going to say that the length of it will be equal to the number of rows that we have. Okay. And fill them with an array of columns of false. Okay. So what have we done here? We are creating, let's say, a 2D array for storing active nodes. Okay. Spelling mistake, false. False means it is inactive. And initially, every node is inactive, right? Initially, every node is inactive. So now if I do a console log of the grid state, what else am I doing a console log of? Oh, I can remove this one. Yeah, it will have an array of 8 items. So as you can see, there's an array of 8 items inside it, but each of those have 16 items inside them. Okay, and they represent my row and column. Now, because we have not hard coded anything, we can technically kind of change it to 16,32. Oh, we have hard coded the number of cells. We create more boxes, but we don't create more columns. That is because we have hard coded the CSS for it. Yep, 8 and 16. 8 rows and 16 columns. Okay. We can say make this. Oh, in CSS, you can make a comment using /* and */ make the number of rows dynamic. Make the number of columns dynamic. So these are our to do. Okay, and that should be simple, ideally, to make it dynamic. What is this referring to? It is referring to row labels. And where do we have row labels? Right here. So I can technically do row labels dot style dot grid template rows to be equal to okay. I think it should be equal to, and then in backticks we do this repeat thing. But instead of repeat of 8, we say that you repeat the number of rows. And where is the ruler class where we create it? Right here. So we can copy this over to ruler class, and we can say dot style dot grid template columns. Okay, the number of columns, and we do a repeat, and this should be calls. I think each column of 32 pixels. Let's see if this works. This is what I remember from top of my head. I can change this to 16 and 32, and 32 worked, and even 16 worked. These notes, okay, we have, again, they are hard coded. Okay, not hard coded, but more like we don't have other spaces. So that is why it's not showing anything here, but it does show all these things that are created. So let's go over to styles, and we can, if I comment this out and I comment this part out, 1 to 32, every fourth of it is highlighted in a different color, and I need to give it a color of text. Nope. Oh, every cell. Yep, perfect. Okay, so there we go. We now have a very dynamic way of creating a grid. This width also needs to be changed though. Why is it only 0 to 15? Ah, grid inner should also be dynamic. Where do we create grid inner? Right here. So I can follow this thing, and grid inner dot style dot this one. How many grid inners do we create? Grid inner should be number of columns. Yep, there we go. And if I reduce the size of this one, you should be able to view all of them, this width needs to be dynamic as well, the width of the whole box. Okay, perfect. So now you know how to create those cells. Also, if I remove this numbering, you should have a better visual of it. Okay, all we have done is created the boxes. Okay, and the box width, box height, more squares. If you just add a bit more nodes, you will have a bigger piano scale technically. So you can have a smaller piano scale or bigger piano scale, and all of it is dynamic. All of it depends on how many rows and columns you have. Okay, that's it. We do have some space left. Where is that spacing coming from? Who is the parent for that spacing? It is actually the class grid. So if I go over to my dot grid, okay, that's a bad idea. Let's take it down. Let's check this out quickly. Okay, so this width also needs to be dynamic. It should hug the content. Okay, that is what we want ideally. There we go. So the maximum width would be equal to fitting the content. Actually, even the minimum width should be to fit the content. Okay, so now if I change the number of rows to, let's say, 16, number of columns to, let's say, 24. Nice. And if I change this to 32 columns, the background should also change dynamically. Okay, so now it's fitting the content exactly. We just need more nodes here, but otherwise we have a very dynamic nodes scale. Okay, I'm going to change this to back to 8 and 16. So we also have a dynamic change in our whole project. Isn't that nice? So now you can have a bit more of nodes, a bit more of everything. Okay, let's move on to the next bits. So now we have our cell. Also, what did I do? I just use ruler, and there is a property on everything which is called as style. Okay, so all I'm doing is calling that style, and after you call a style, you cannot, like, our CSS property was called, let's say, grid template columns with dashes, but you cannot have a dashed variable in JavaScript. Example, if I try to create abc-def equals to 1, this is not a valid variable. You can use underscores in the variable name. You can use like no spacing in the variable name. You can have underscore at the start of a variable name. That's also allowed. You can have a lot of underscores in the variable name. Even that is allowed. But you cannot have a dash in the variable name. Okay. So that is why when JavaScript was created, they based all the dashed variables became a camel case variable. So camel case is that the first letter would be small, and every time you have a dash, instead of a dash, you have a capital letter. And that's what I did. So I used the exact CSS. This is no longer a to-do. And number of rows is dynamic in JS. Number of columns is dynamic in JS. That's what we did. So style is basically a way of styling something. Now, the way you would see this is if you go over to the style. There we go. So it adds a property attribute style, similar to an attribute of class. We have added an attribute of style, and the CSS is applied inline. Okay, this is an inline way of applying a CSS. Should also have the number of rows somewhere where it would be applied inline. Okay, repeat 8 and 32 pixels. Cool. So that is, yep, exactly the CSS. I just use backticks because why not? Also, this is wrong. I should also close the bracket, right? I did not close the bracket, but there was no error, which was nice. So repeat 16, 32 pixels, closing the bracket. So I'm closing this bracket that I started over here. Not dynamic calls, and dynamic calls. Perfect. Okay, so now that I have a grid state, okay, which is used for managing or storing the active nodes, let's create a quick function. Update cell element, where it will take the cell, the row, and the column. Okay, so we are going to update a particular cell element based on where the user is clicking. Okay, so I'm going to say const is active equals to in the grid state. Okay, don't forget what our grid state looks like. Let me create a quick visual of our grid state. Okay, so our grid state would look something like this. And I'm going to leave some ... because I'm not going to add all of them. We'll have false, 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 ... and this will be like 8 times. Okay, so we'll have this 8 times, and every false will be 16 times. Okay, so 8 arrays of false, and each array will have 16 false. And now whenever someone clicks on a button, so step 1 is from the grid state, we want to find which row and which column did they click on. Okay, so if I take my grid state, go over to this one, and I create grid state 1, and I want to know if a user clicks on row number 4 and column number 6, example, it should return me the false at that particular position. Okay, so that is what I get. And now I want to do a dot class list. So cell is a individual cell element, and class list will give me a list of multiple classes, and I'm going to toggle the active to depending on is active. So what this does is add or remove the dot active class and cell. Okay, I think this should be fine. So on clicking of it, on clicking of a cell, it will add or remove. So if I click here, it should add or remove, like it will add active here. If I click on it again, it should remove it. The problem is currently we are not actually tracking in any way. How do you click on something, right? Like clicking is not being tracked right now. So let's track a click event. So I'm going to remove this. This is our understanding. Okay, so we have created all the cells here. Now for each cell that we have, actually inside the for loop, right? Yes, inside the for loop. So we want to track the clicking on a cell, and you can do that by adding a event listener. An event listener is a way of tracking certain actions. Now on click of this, actually, I want to let's say console.log each row and each call. Also the cell itself. Cool. So now let's go over to this one. If I click on this, it says that you have clicked on 0th row, 0th column, and this is the actual cell button. Access, like this is a reference to the cell button. So if I click on 0, 1, 2, okay, and 6, I should get 2 and not 6, sorry, 5, because, well, this starts from 1, but arrays are numbered from 0. So now if I click on any of these, it will give me the row number and the column number of that particular cell. Okay. So now I can click on anything and it will give me the row number and the column number of that particular cell. And that happens because of this event listener. So event listener is a JavaScript functionality or API which allows you to track certain events. Now a button has a click event. Okay, you click on a button. That is why I used a click. This is a button and that is why I used a click on it. But you can have, let's say, an input box, and that will have a change event, because input boxes, you type inside an input box and that changes the value. So you can find all about it if you just Google a lot. You will find that, okay, for certain types of HTML tags, you have certain kinds of events. Okay. Wrong place. Perfect. So this is cool, but we don't want to console log it. We want to toggle the cell state. We want to change it from false to true or true to false, or more like, actually not more like, we want to change it from false to true or true to false. So let's do that. So we can say function toggle cell state. Now this should take in the row name, the row number, the column number, and the cell itself. So we can give it the row number, call number, and the cell element. Okay, it will take in these three things, and we can say from the grid state, find that particular row number, that column number, and flip the state. Okay, now I used an exclamation mark. If you have not seen that before, let's take a quick look at it. So an exclamation mark, let's have a variable, const my variable equals to false. Okay, so inside each box, it is nothing but true or false. So if I do not of my variable, it will flip from false to true. Now if I do, and if I assign it to my variable again, actually, so let me use a let, because I cannot reassign, right? So let my variable equals to false. So this is what I start with. Okay, I start with a false. So my variable currently is false. Now if I do my variable equals to not of my variable, so then my variable will change to true. Okay, it is going to be switched from false to true. And now if I do it again, it should go from true to false. So this is one way to flip a Boolean value using the not operator. Okay, exclamation mark. So this is what I'm doing. When a user clicks on a particular cell, it will change to, so in the value in my grid state, it will change to a true. Okay, initially it was false, now it will change to a true. And if you click on it again, it will change from true to false. Okay, that is what we are doing here. So let's also console.log. Okay, let's console log it before. And then let's console log it after. And right here, I will, inside this toggle cell state function, I'm going to call the update cell element function. Now that needs the values in this order. So let's do that. I'll pass it cell element first. Then I will pass it the row number, and then I will pass it the call number. I think I should basically have both of them in yeah, same order would be fine, right? So row number first, column number next, and then we pass it the actually leave it. This is how it can make a difference. Update the cell appearance. We should add some JS docs to this. I will leave it on you all to add it. Okay, now let's click on this. Oh, I'm not calling this function anywhere. So instead of console log, let me call the function here, toggle cell state function, where I will provide it the each row will basically be the row number, each call will basically be the call number, and the cell itself is basically the cell element. Okay, now if I click on this, before false, after true, I click on it again, before true, after false. I should probably print the row number, column number as well, so that you know which row and column are we talking about in this position. So if I click on 0, 0, it was false, and afterwards it was true. If I click on 0, 0 again, it was true, now it is false. I click on it again, false becomes true. Okay, you see the before after? Now it makes much more sense, right? What we are doing in the toggle. And let me just add a quick active class. We have cell hover. On the cell itself, we now are adding an active class. Let's also see it in elements. Uh, we are clicking on this one. I click, you see cell and active. I click on it again, the active gets removed. I click on it again, active gets added. Why is that happening? Thanks to our very smart is active check. Okay. Uh, so step one, we first call the toggle cell state. The toggle cell state changes it from true to false. Okay. Now, if it is if it is true, okay, if it is true, we pass update cell element that please change this button class, which happens because of this class list.toggle thing. So toggle changes it from active depending on is active. If is active is true, let's also console log the row call is active. And this is happening inside the update cell element. I click on it. Oh, console.log, not console, sorry. Console.log. And it adds active because is active is true. I click on it again, it will remove the active because is active is false. So this is what that one does. Okay. Class list basically, if I can do console.log on cell.classList. Okay, what does that do? It returns me all the values of all the classes of that. Okay, and I click on it again. There we go. Active was added. Active was removed. Cool. So dot class list actually returns me all the classes. If it is just one, then it will have just cell. If it adds a new one, it will return active as well. So I should return it actually after this, after it gets added. So now I've added cell active. I click on it again. It removes this active part. Okay. I can do a dot value, I think, and that should return me cell active, cell, cell active, cell, cell active, cell, cell active, cell. Now I should color it so that it makes much more sense what we are doing, right? So I'm going to give it a color of cell active. I'm going to give it a border color of accent. I click on it. It is active, 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 active. Okay. The cell active color itself, I think I want to take it a bit more towards light so that it makes perfect. And we will use one of our websites to get a darker version of this particular color. Or actually, what if I do? Okay, there we go. So we are using JavaScript to mark something active. So wherever we click, if it is not already active, then it becomes active. Otherwise, it removes that active part. So isn't this cool? Actually, I'm just making one small change. The accent itself, I'll change it so that I can use it here. Okay, so that's one way of making things active, inactive, and we know that we are like all we are doing is changing the values. Okay, I'm going to remove all the console logs. Best way to debug anything as to what is happening is adding a bunch of console logs. Okay, I've removed all of the console logs. Perfect. So we have marked them active, inactive, but there is still nothing about uh, what do you call about the sound. Yes, the sound part is still pending, but I also am running out of time. So I think we'll have to stop right here, unfortunately. And we'll have to stop here, unfortunately. But we are reaching there. Okay, we have made everything as dynamic as possible. I will push this first, and then I just want to do one last thing before we end. I want to move all of this into a function. So we changed two files, git add all, git commit session 4, mark cells active, inactive. Git push. Now, okay, so there is one last thing that I want to do. I want to create two functions right here very quickly. So right here after the node names, actually I should move this bit all the way to the top because these are our constants. Okay, without this nothing actually makes sense. And then we have one function of el, which is fine. And now I want to create a function called as render grid. This grid will take in a container. Okay, this grid will take in a container. A container is nothing but our reference to our grid container. Okay, so this section, which is fine. Now I'm going to move everything from here up until here inside the function. And now I should not see anything. Why? Because I'm not calling this function. We have grid layout, labels left side, ruler spacer, labels left side. Then we have row labels. And then for the row labels, we are doing note names for each. We are doing a row label, text content, append child, labels left side, grid layout, dot append child. Then we focus on the right side. So right side is done, spacing here, let's say a ruler, and then we are looping over everything, append child ruler, and then we do a grid inner, and we do a grid state. Inside this we have function update cell element and function to toggle cell state. Then we build each of the rows. We add an event listener to listen to a click event. Listening is nothing but checking, okay, what is happening out here. And once we have done grid right side dot append child grid inner, grid layout dot append child grid right side, I want to do a container dot append child grid layout. Okay, grid a container is nothing but, I can quickly create, it is a HTML element. Okay, it's a HTML element. Now we are not calling this function. I want to create one more function called as function main. Okay, so for the main, I am going to move this element const grid equals to document.get element by id grid, and then I'm going to call the function render grid, and I will pass it this particular grid. And I don't need this. Okay. And finally, let's call our main function at the end of everything. So we end up with the same thing. Click, 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 click. Okay, perfect. So we have done everything same, but now I have two functions. I've divided it into two functions. Okay. So this is to renders a grid. So the reason why I did this in a function is now I can have another grid element, right? I can create technically another section here. Let's call it grid new. I can go to my main.js and I can say const grid, const second grid, let's say, equals to document dot get element by id grid new, and now render the second grid. So now it's reusable. I can have another grid right below it. I can create as many grids as I want because we have created a function. That's the beauty of functions, right? You can call them as many times as you want. And if you provide them whatever they ask for, you can just have same things multiple times if you need it. Okay, so this is where we stop. Any questions, anyone? Yes, we did make most of it. Yes, and please do tell what else do we need to do to complete it after adding the sound. Nothing. Adding the sound is the last thing that we want to do. Okay, adding the sound will be the last thing that we want to do, but we also want to do it in a React way. Like we want to build this project using React JS as well, so that you can learn React JS and you can form parallels. Another reason why I'm building these functions is so that when we go over to React, we can technically copy paste most of it, and you will be like, oh, yeah, this is cool. This is easy. If I understand JavaScript, I understand React. Okay. Uh, okay, cool. Anything else that comes to my mind? Nothing. I'm going to enhance all the functions that I have here with JS doc. And after that, I will push it on GitHub. Any other questions, anyone? I'll add some inline comments and some JS doc so that when you hover over something, it makes much more sense. Okay, the way we did it for REL, we'll do it for, I'll do it for others as well. Okay, and then I will push it on GitHub. But right now, whatever code is on GitHub should work. There's a question: best resource for React. I think React.dev, their official documentation is the best resource for React. Excuse me, sorry about that. Yeah, I think that would be the best guide for React, in my opinion. Like that is my go-to most of the times. If I go over to search history, as you can see, I keep going to it. I'm like, how does this work? And then I read the documentation. I see that they have a project, and you can also change this project. So you can do all of that, and it will show up here. I'm like, oh, okay, this is how it works. So yeah, I think that is all I can say. Okay, if there's nothing else, then as always, feedback. Please do provide feedback for the session. I hope you have all enjoyed it so far. I know that we have not completed it, but I have requested for 2 more sessions. I thought I would go way quicker, but I also did not want to lose you all to some jargons. I wanted to explain everything as properly as I could, and I hope it has helped you all to understand a bit more about JavaScript and how it works. I know I've gone over a lot of basics. Some of you might have been bored out of your mind, and I apologize for that. But ignoring all of that, please do provide any constructive criticism that you have, and we'll have 2 more sessions where we'll complete this project. Don't worry about it. It will be late night on Wednesday, and if you are not able to make it, please make sure you watch the recording on YouTube. Any other questions? Yep, even I hope for the best. If let's say it does not work out, I will still push a working code onto GitHub. Okay, so keep an eye on the project. Oh, 2 stars. Thank you so much to whoever starred it. And 6 people are also working on this project. That is really cool. Helps boost my ego here. Okay, enough of me talking. Thank you so much once again, everyone. If there are no further questions, I'd like to end it. Keep an eye on the repository. I will push 1 commit like in a bit, in next 10 minutes, where I would have added a bit more comments on the code. And once that is done, yeah, we'll wait for session 5 and 6. Okay, cool. Thank you so much. Cheers, everyone. Bye-bye.